Hello, my dear ones, my fellow dreamers. Oh, this is all but a dream, right? Have you ever heard that before? This is nothing but a dream. And we keep dreaming and dreaming and dreaming and dreaming, right? For those that want to wake up from the dream, you merely have to learn how to quit creating. And that's tough because in the now, all of it's there. But expressing it individually is why creation is there, the fun of it all, even though you have to put up with the two sides, positive and negative, You have to realize you're the dream and the dreamer. You're all of it. That's the funny thing about everything. Once you take out the physical body, then you take out the astral body, your emotions. See you later. Now you're just thought. Get rid of that. What are you now? Get rid of your mind, right? These are just things you're using, right? What are you then? And you begin to see that who is the real dreamer here, right? Yeah. Oh, I tell you, this is just a sneak preview. We're working. Look like a barrel. Getting there. That's our new label. That's going to be a little different, but not much. They're working on it. Handcrafted. Ooh, I got a whole new stack. Good, 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 good. So many people fear so many things. And you must realize that you're a part of everything. Even if an alien, we'll call him an alien, comes in your backyard, knocks on your door and says, hey, man, you come from the same place they, whatever, does. Just remember that on everything. Power up. Get stronger. Don't let your emotions rip you apart. That's what it does. Rips you apart and sends the power into pieces. Same way with thought. When you realize that and you move that to the one, that's where the power is. The whole power of it all. Let's see how we're doing out here. Haley. I like how you wrote that. South Africa. 38-year-old woman. 5 foot 6 inches. All right. Now, heights, you would say, and why do you ask for height and all this stuff? But you know what? Everything tells a picture for all you healers out there. Everything that someone tells you about themselves is just another picture of what's going on with them. I've seen this so many times where someone will have pain in their shoulder. They go to a medical doctor. They get an x-ray, and the medical doctor says, I don't see anything there. This is in your head. I can't even tell you how many times through 53 years I've heard that. And the beauty of understanding the only two sides of chemistry and what each one has to offer you, and then also understanding the body is just a whole bunch of cells and two fluids that take care of them, which could hurt you, which could cause pain. Blood. You think blood moving through you, the alkaline side is the pain side? Maybe you get way up in alkalosis, but it's the healing, energetic side, right? The what we call electron dominant side, right? And if I'm an acid, I'm looking for electrons. So I look at all these facts to get an idea of why you're suffering the way you're suffering, although a symptom always matches a stagnatic area and the corresponding inflammation. The inflammation isn't the pain. It's the acid and the swelling of edema and things like that can really cause that issue. So 5'6", maybe a pituitary, but I want to get everybody thinking that way. Because I've seen people say, I've worked on my thyroid and I've worked on my thyroid and I can't seem to. That's because your pituitary is not allowing it to go anywhere. So cases like this, when you have your whole picture, then you got your toolkit, you got your magic herbs, you've got the glandulars, and if you're gonna, everything ties together. If you're going to eat animals and you're going to slaughter them, you do it the humane way, like New Zealand's laws are set up, and you love them and stuff like that, because somebody's going to harvest your body if you allow them, just because we have to sign a piece of paper, but if they didn't, they'd harvest you anyway. And then, of course, you never want to fall asleep on a New York park bench. They'll harvest you while you're sleeping. I mean, it's just, that's the thing. Organs and glands bring big money. And instead of rebuilding tissue, we'll cut them out of someone else. Of course, they probably didn't eat well either. That's the interesting thing about that. When you look at organ transplants, I find it interesting that, and this one in particular, oh my God, this mother called me and was talking to me about her son. And she was going to donate a kidney to him. And I'm going, you're going to donate a kidney to him? She said, well, yes. I said, that's unbelievable. You're in the same genetic tree. It's not compatibility, it's weaknesses. It's the consciousness and the structure of the kidney. And so that's the issue. Not the compatibility of mom and the family tree. Hell, you're looking at a genetic downline of the donor, period, in the initial donor. So you're using that same downline, and weak kidneys and all of that. So it's ridiculous in that if we can't fix someone in a stage 4 scenario, and you're that bad, of course, I challenge the surgeons that transplant kidneys and that remove kidneys to think about the lymphatic system and the fact that the kidneys are lymphoid organs, and that when you remove them, what are you going to do with the lymph system? Because the corresponding removal of the kidney, we're talking transplants, but still, I've seen so much lymphedema. This lady came to me with an elephant leg, literally. They took out her right kidney. She had right breast cancer. Of course she had right breast cancer. Her whole right side was screwed up. Right kidney. Kidney. That's why it's so important when you start working on yourself to hug those kidneys. Proteins are not huggables. They're like that. That's a protein, right? So a lipid is like, come here, protein. Let me give you a hug. That's why you're a lipid-based lymphatic system. All right, removal of 3 infection teeth. Concerns herself, I have an infection on the top of my wisdom tooth, which is apparently chronic. That has spread to the tooth next to it, top left side of the mouth, and I have an infection starting underneath another tooth on the bottom right side of my mouth. My biodentist said the only way to get rid of the infection is to remove the teeth. And the only way to get rid of that's going to remove the head of the person. These guys get me. Get me something. Oh my God, I know. Oh, and they do the same thing when you're going to do radiation in the mouth or something. They're going to remove your teeth. It's like, you guys are barbaric. You're unbelievable. Barbarians. I know. All right, so if we fall into the trap of 17th century disease symptoms or disease theories, 18th century germ theories, we're still living back in those old times. Yep, I guess we can still say that infections travel from tooth to tooth to dupe to dupe to dupe to dupe. But what in your mouth is the real problem? Huh? Your lymphatic system. It's everywhere. It's even in your teeth. It's everywhere. Every cell is a producer of wastes. Every cell's a little person doing their little thing. But we could remove your teeth. Oh. Well, then the next thing's your jawbone, because that's going to keep going because your infection, infection, you have acidosis, you have a stagnation of lymph in your mouth. Uh-oh. So what's your problem? Kidney and adrenals? Absolutely. Lymphatic stagnation, what your bowels look like. Start opening up and cleaning up your gut tissue, especially your transverse colon. You can't just bring up one, of course, but that area that feeds this area, right? And clean this out so your teeth can rebuild themselves. You're leaching calcium out of the matrix just because it's highly acidic. And if your biodentist is telling you it's a germ, he's not a biodentist. He's still living in the 18th century, the germ theory. He's not much more than a more expensive dentist. Holy crap. This is your lymph system. And you've got two sides to your face just like you do everywhere else. And you have a right and left side of your body. And your right kidney, one side of your face can go el nutto. And I can't even tell you the cases I've had. And I can show you some pretty pictures if you don't want to throw up. Where the eye pops and spins and holy crap. Yeah, you really want to, and the things that I've seen, you really want to address this, especially because you're here, and you got here, and you got here, and you got, you know what I'm saying? You don't have an infection, you have severe acidosis, severe chronic stagnation of the lymph system. I don't know what color your eyes are. I don't know anything like that whatsoever, but it's enough to say that you got to work on yourself. And I'd put myself, this dentist is going to love this one. I'd put myself on all fruit, berries, and melons, and get on these herbs, go after the kidneys, go after the lymphatic system, clean up the gut. Do a month maybe on the liver just to affect all that. All the Barbarous family loves everything. So, I mean, when you get on a good liver formula, you've just got all kinds of good help there for liver, spleen, pancreas, bowels even. Even burdock reaches up and kisses the kidneys. And, it's that beauty of the magic of herbs and the fact that they can put their arms around all the cells of the body and go, hey, I'm here to help you. So that's, is this my only option? Hell no. And to remove all the three teeth. And then it's just, so let me tell you. So there's the three now. There's going to be three more later. There's going to be three more later. You might as well have them take it all out. And, you can go implants and then put in false teeth. Of course, your implants are going up into the bone, and of course, we're talking lymphatic here, so it's not just teeth, it's gums and bone, jawbone, all that. So, your only option in the other side of this is to get your lymphatic system cleaned out of here, and then make sure your pituitary and what else? Parathyroid is in good shape. Everything is cooking here because this is you're right in here. Everything's right in here. I wouldn't doubt you have a little bit of a lower thyroid, parathyroid matrix. And 5-6, I wouldn't doubt at all if I see a little pituitary in you. So by fixing those, you can rebuild your teeth and your bone, your jawbone. So there's where I would go. Or have them take all your teeth out. Problem again is your teeth are the effect, not the cause. And bacterium doesn't chew up cells. That's why you have macrophages in lymph nodes and bacteria. Bacteria doesn't touch cells. Why would they? Unless it's an afterthought, there's nothing there and you see necroticism to that point. Well, yeah. And you're going on to give me some atoms. So this is Tracy Swanson, female, United States, 62 years young, honey. Yeah. 118 pounds. Skinny little girl. 5.0. This is why. 5 3/4 inches tall. 5 foot and 3/4 inches. honey, you short. You're short as my sister. My sister was 5'1", I think. TSH is at 53. Oh, lordy, and cannot get past 97 degrees basal temperature. Holy moly. Well, the reason your TSH is probably really high, I mean, that's hyperpituitaryism. But your height does not show that. Your height actually shows quite the opposite. So your pituitary could be trying. I mean, if I'm a medical doctor, I'd probably, an endocrinologist, I'd probably put it in this way. Your pituitary is working hard to try to turn on the thyroid. But at the same time, if the thyroid isn't responding to those high levels of TSH, that's interesting to me. Because you should see that bump in T4s and T3s as well, at least one of them. So when you have, and I was talking to, we had a nice discussion yesterday about this with Jessica, and in a hyper state. And she was talking about one of her patients has extremely high platelets, up in the millions. And I asked her, is there any internal bleeding or anything? Because that'd be the first thing they'd want to know, probably. And then you have to understand that in an acidic, what hyperstimulates the function of cells in the production of anything, hormones, steroids, neurotransmitters, I don't care what it is. And your alkaline side is not really a stimulative side. It's a dynamic side, right? Your acid side is very stimulative, very. So you can see that you have some serious problems up in the sinus and up in the head area. And I would look to your transverse colon a little bit there and see what you find here, See if you don't have sulfur or some other things, because your height suggests you have very low pituitary function in your growth hormone side of it. But again, you could probably have one part of a gland in a hyperstate and another part in a hypostate. It all depends upon lymph flow, stagnation, isolation, those sort of things. Neurological, I mean, you're looking at all that impact on those. But for me, when any numbers are high, you don't touch it with pituitary formulas. You don't touch it with endocrine gland formula. This is when I probably wouldn't do an endocrine gland formula. But again, I'm a little confused. I'm looking over here at TSH, so I would want to pull a whole panel. I'd want to pull a PTH and ACTH. I'd want to pull a whole pituitary hormone panel and take a look at and see what else is up or down and everything else, because your height suggests that your growth hormone side of that is down. Now, that's going to affect monthly. Now, another question you would ask at a female is, how's her monthly periods? Are they on time every time? Do you have excessive bleeding, or you don't even have a menses at all? Because with a chronic pituitary, a female can lose menstruating in their 30s. And she can have very irregular menses. She can conceive and then abort, can't carry to term. Or she can't conceive at all. That was Holly's problem. She couldn't conceive because Holly's only 5 foot tall. Well, once she went on pituitary herbs and everything else, guess what happened to her? Bam! Yeah. So the thing is, you want to go after the health of these tissues. Let's see what else we got going here now. I am almost 63 years old, 5 foot 3/4 inches tall. Hello, pituitary. Smart lady. I love you guys. You guys, group hug, group hug. Yeah, right on, honey. Right on. You know what? And the important thing is that you know immediately what there was. Pituitary. I would dare say that you probably would ask most medical doctors about the height, and they wouldn't be able to snap back pituitary. Now, I'm just saying, if you can't do that, that's a problem. I am a plant-based eater for 10 years plus. Good woman. A year ago, I had a heart rate issue with dizziness. Ooh, too much Thanksgiving mashed potatoes and yams. I like this lady a lot already. And my MD had suggested a blood test. Yeah, my numbers were off the charts. I started monitoring my blood sugar, which was too high, dropped 16 pounds, no more alcohol. Ooh, alcohol. Okay. Kicked up my activity level and feel much better. However, my functional med practitioner had another huge blood test done after 12 months, and my TSH is still skyrocketing high. My A1C is still high too. My zinc and copper are also too high. Kidneys, my hair is brittle, thinning, and gray. I'm also cold and dry. I'm scared something is really off. Well, all right, so I kind of submit to you that, all right, so as a healer, let's look at this, okay? So we see someone that's very, very short. We know for sure they have a pituitary, at least the growth hormone side is way down. Now, when you correlate, you get her monthly periods, you correlate all this stuff, and her past, you can really get a good look. But what's the tall tale test you can do to tell you for sure? Of course, symptoms are for sure. Sorry. But what else? Iridology. Iridology, guys. I mean, that's when you really look, and that's when you get to see, oh, is the thyroid genetically involved, or it's just a hiccup from the pituitary? I'm guessing in this side you have genetics in your thyroid and parathyroid. Brittle hair, thinning. Okay, so now you're getting into poor circulation. You're also getting into possible parathyroid issues, and you might already have had that for years. The graying and stuff like this is dehydration. I'm always cold and dry. So there you go. You're very acidic and you're very thyroid. But your TSH is, yeah, come on, thyroid, come on. And it could just mean that your thyroid is chronic genetically. How do you tell? Eyes, baby. Everything outside of that, you're guessing. You're guessing. I have used many of your tinctures off and on for years, but do not feel any improvement in this area yet. Yeah, this is a detox area. This is where you just go on a grape diet or a fruit, berry, and melon diet for a few months and see if you can get that out of there. And that is if you're high lead, high iron, high zinc, I don't care what you're high in. I don't care if you're high platelets. Whenever you have a very hyper involvement, you can't take anything for that. And alkaline chemistry settles things down. Remember, alkaline chemistry, even though fruit is the most bioactive of all the foods electrically, it is also antispasmodic, anti-inflammatory, all the other good stuff. So that's why when you go on an all-fruit diet, your energy's gone, but you're at peace. You're at peace. But your energy's going, woo, 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 woo. You know? Mm-hmm. The acid side is where you get the agglomeration, and that's the corrosive side. So, of course, it's going, ow, 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 you acid, get away. Come here, alkali. So, again, I'm going to the same issue here. Heart rate, you're going to go to the thyroid, but with your case, you are definitely going to that pituitary. So dizziness, so you could, again, we're talking back of the head here, and it's not a stretch. With this, I'm going to submit that you've got some transverse colon stuff going on, and probably up here in the cerebellum mastoid. So this is why we work on the gut, but we also come over here and work on the kidneys and lymphatic system. Oh, and then we also come over here and work on the nervous system, because without the lights, everything is dark. You see why we work on what we work and why the protocols are set the way they are. Because then you turn your body on. You're turning everything on. Well, so are you turning on the inner bodies spiritually. That's when you really see what's hyperactive. Control of your emotions. And of course, you all know that have been doing this for a while, that there's a point you enter, you move from the physical zone into the astral zone. the emotional zone. Now you're detoxing emotionally. You're still detoxing physically, but your emotions are now starting to be shoved through. The adrenals are now getting stronger. Now your emotions are getting stronger and kicking out the weaknesses. That sort of thing. Same thing with the mind. You start moving up the chain of your inner bodies. And then you start coming to the now. And that's the fruit is the highest level of food that can bring you into the now. And in the now, there is no emotions. There is no thought. Why? You're in totality. You along with all other things. When I pull myself out of that totality, take on these bodies, well, I've just individualized the all. And each one of you are the individualization of the all. Sorry about that. So don't beat yourselves up too much. It's only unconsciousness. Wake up. Okay. I don't think was my, let's see. After learning about your ideas on thyroid, which I didn't think was my issue until the BT showed TSH at 55 last year. You think I was lying to you? I hope I never do that. I follow your book and took my basal temp for 4 days and also throughout the day for a week. I never even got to 97. Yeah, definitely hyper. So that also begs about parathyroid. And so there we go. You're 62. How's your skin? Can it pop? Is it wrinkled? You see what's going on there. How's your fingernails? Are they or are they wrinkled, brittle? That sort of thing. That's your parathyroid. So what you see here, you see in your bones, your jaws, all of that as well. See, all this affects you systemically everywhere. And of course, your adrenals. I mean, all these are all involved. I've never even got this has been my normal for years, and many practitioners have passed it off as being normal. Oh, honey, you're just being normal. Jeez. Something inside me says it's not okay. Yeah, you're a good woman, honey. And that's another point. Your inner guidance. Listen to your own inner guidance. It's you talking to you. So listen to your inner guidance. Matter of fact, be your inner guidance. For all you spiritual nuts. BTW, I recommend my daughter, Ellie, take your courses a few years ago. She did and is certified by you. Yeah! I used to be able to call her for advice. Sadly, she has not spoken to me in nearly 2 years. Oh, that's sad. And really need help. I trust you. My hope and gratitude, Tracy. Yeah, that's sad. You know what? Sometimes you have kids that kind of go another way for a while. I don't know. But Tracy, honey, I would, the only thing I'd recommend in terms of herbs and things would be kidneys and lymphatics, GI tract, of course, neurological even, brain and nerve. I'm like, I don't know. We need to get some sinus drainage. We need to get this transverse cleaned up. Do you have orange around your pupil? Do we have sulfur issues we're dealing with and high fungus issues? What all are we dealing with here? And that's the beauty of naturopathy and what you guys are learning. We look at the whole body. We don't just go, oh, yeah, that's okay. You're 97. That's good enough. Really? We like to look at the total being and see what's all going on. It all draws like a map. And everything draws right to tissues. Well, where do you go there? You go to chemistry. Outside of blood, nerve, and lymph, the two main energy flows of your body, everything is cells, and of course those tissues involved in those fluids and energy are cells. And you have an electrical body. Everything is electrical. But you can break all that down. You can break all your cells down. You can break all the chemistry down. You can break everything down to all these little bitty atoms, right? And everybody's heard of atom busters, where they go, man, they were going to open up one up here. They were going to build one, and I forget how many acres it took to build this thing. But they, you know how they move the atoms around the big track and then they collide them? So what do they get? They get light, they get pure light, and others observe the sound. So you get pure light and sound. Well, pure light is what? Pure energy for you physics nuts, right? So for physics nuts, we're going to step up and move into the world of quantums. And we talked about this just the other day. Yeah, all matter can be broken down into the frequencies of electromagnetic energy, blah, 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 blah. And then you break down energy, and what do you get? Quantum says you get intelligence. What say you? So you mean intelligence is behind everything? What say you? And when you recognize that, you will be in nirvana land, guaranteed. All right, so this is, all right. Will you take care of you, Tracy? Okay, buddy. Detoxify yourself, really, and go after those tissues. I don't know what to say neurologically because, again, you have to be, part of your pituitary has to be hyper producing TSH. The question is it because you have a chronic thyroid and your thyroid just isn't responding and it keeps trying? That means your pituitary has a consciousness, right? Well, wait a minute here. It doesn't have a consciousness that is enough to give you height. So again, you can have partial tissues that are in a hyper state and a partial tissues, I suppose, that's in a hypo state. What matters is that once you get your lymphatic system opened up, you get yourself hydrated properly. In other words, you move yourself through the detoxification process. All of this is gone. Oh, and then you can enhance the function of these tissues. You first got to get them into genetic normacy. And I say genetic normacy because when I detoxify people all these years, what I see is your body goes all the way back to its genetic past when you're detoxifying. And that means in your mom, into the genetic past of the consciousness of the cell itself. That's why you see the resurrection or the rebuilding of genetic weaknesses. Whoa, how can the body rebuild a genetic problem? Because it's just the consciousness of the cell. You know, and people have to get with that. Understand who's the driving force here of everything. Consciousness. Intelligence. And you have to realize that. And you are a part of that intelligence. But so is everything else that you're wearing. And you're interfacing with. Everything. Everything you see, touch, feel comes from the same source. All right, that's Harriet. I haven't heard Harriet. I haven't heard that name in a long time. That comes from Indiana, I'm pretty sure. Harriet. All right, this is PVNS, TGCT. And these guys ever stop? Oh, my God. I don't even know what TGCT is unless it's PVNS. Okay. The 31-year-old female, she's 5'7". We got a lot of females today. Please can you help to give any information on how to heal TGCT, or previously known as PVNS? I have this type of tumor in my left knee. Oh, okay, a tumor in the left knee. Okay, that makes sense. And I would like to take an approach other than medication. You're on medication for a tumor behind the knee? What kind of medication could you be on for that? I eat very healthy and I have organic food as much as I can. I drink distilled water as well. I'm really struggling as I'm young and I'm not able to walk properly. Oh, honey. With the name Harriet. And she's only 31 years old and she has the name Harriet. I love the name Harriet. Same thing. Where's your problem? You know what your problem is, right? If you've been listening to me at all, you know what your problem is. When you have a tumor, a boil, a cyst, a sty, what system, number one, because we're going to start talking about systems. Once Marco gets the website up and everything, you're going to see how I've got everything broken down into systems. Or this other formula line that's coming out is going to be geared toward the systems. So what system is prima facie here? What system do you have to work on? The lymphatic, kidney, and adrenals. I mean, the lymphatic system. And when you get this, when you see our website open up to you, it'll have the whole lymphatic system for you and what it all includes. And all the systems will be put together and all what that includes. Pat's doing a few finishing touches on this, Pat. And we're looking good. But, so you got a tumor behind which knee? Left knee. So you know that's your left kidney. And at 31, I don't know of anybody 31 years old that does not have kidney weakness. You can't be 30 years old and not have some degree of kidney problems. Let's put it that way. I mean, I'm serious. I've been doing this all my life, and it's just... hell, when you're my age, you all have kidney problems, let alone the 30 and 20 and the newborns. Oh, my God. Holly's baby was only born with one kidney. My whole family's a kidney family, and you've seen me go through kidney stones. So, you know, it's just that sort of thing. When you're farmers and stuff, you eat meat. You slaughter, you butcher, you ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. You drink milk. You do all the things that destroy the human body. And farmers should be the ones that that produce the good food for you and make you healthy. But man got way off. And thanks for sending that, Pat. Pat, I don't know where she got this one. This is really good, though. I don't know. They went like 10 million. Was it 10 million? I know Walker's 20. But I think this guy went back at least 10 million. They're looking at the teeth, right? But they're looking at the type of food you eat builds indentions in your teeth a certain way. And they can tell by the design of your teeth what you've been eating. And they found that early man was eating fruit. Just by the cracks and crevices in their teeth. That is too cool. We're going to have that up in the book too. So we'll have all that in there as well. Finding a lot of cool little things like that to show you that man is definitely a frugivore. Please, whether you do it or not, okay. But if you're in serious ass trouble, you got to do it. Especially with a tumor. And especially with neurological problems. Remember what Yale just found. To me, the study that's in your face, medical doctors, and that is fructose is essential for nerve function. Bottom line. Now, you don't want your body converting glucose into fructose, which is amazing in the first place. It shows what the body can do in stressful times. Because if you're not eating fruit, neurologically, you're stressed. So the body has to go to the next inferior simple sugar, which is glucose. Now you're needing insulin, except insulin is not in the brain. So you can't. Oh. So I think this answers so many questions out there. People just have to realize that we have been eating as humans, Homo sapiens, wrong. And the proof of it clinically is when you put your clients or your patients or whoever you're working with or yourself on a fruit, berry, and melon diet, the best you can get, and go down that road using the magic of herbs to enhance the function of or to accelerate cleaning of cells or the fluids. And that's how simple this whole thing is. So, my dear one, this is a lymphatic problem, and you've got to go after it. But you, at 30 years old, you want to make sure your kidneys are filtering. Remember, pee in a jar and make sure you've got sediment. And I'm telling you, I'm so serious about that, it's not even funny. That's your magic doorway. That's the doorway we discovered of why man uses the term diseases. And it's simply kidneys not filtering the lymph system up and the correspondingly acidosis that results from that and what you see in a cationic state. Once you see that, you done, bam. Now I can fix anything that I've got because I know what the problem is. So I put myself on a fruit, berry, and melon diet if I wouldn't put myself on a 10-day grape fast or a 20-day grape fast. Break open those kidneys, honey, and get that filtering. Clean up the bowels. Get yourself on a detox program. And I say this, at least for the first month, get kits that have parasitic formulas in them. You know, we have parasite M&G. I learned years ago, you deworm, defungal everybody. Now, I'm not into the concept of killing bacteria. Wrong concept. And fungus, if it wasn't so bad in people, they're natural microorganisms too for carbon side. You got different microorganisms for everything. Okay, let's see if we. Portugal. Nikan. Now there's a man right here. Nikan, I don't know how you would pronounce that in Portuguese, but Portugal, 29. Years young, chronic fatigue, and testicular lump. Ooh. Okay, so chronic fatigue and a lump, where are we going to go? And he's all right there. We're going to go right on up to the adrenal glands, of course, and they're going to sit right on top of what? Oh, his kidneys. Well, here's the chronic fatigue, and then here's the kidneys, and here's the lump. So you got to get in there, my friend, and get those adrenals and kidneys up, just like this last lady, and get yourself filtering so the lump and the hump can come out. Because nothing fun there. You know, having tumors in the sexual areas is just not fun. Females, I've had females with tumors up inside of them on the vaginal wall. There's no fun in that. And of course, testicular cancers and tumors, and you just go on and on and on. But the lymph system touches everything. Remember that. It's the sewer system. And simply, we're all getting born with sewer system problems because man decided to eat on dead animals and their milk. So maybe we had this shifting of the plates. Yeah. And man moved here and moved there. And yeah. Now we have to go back and seek and find the truth because man is so aberrated and conditioned in his mind. If you said man's a frugivore, he'd probably fall over with a heart attack laughing. We're so conditioned to thinking out so far away from truth, it's unreal. Hi, Doc. Been following you over a decade. Holy crap, man. We're getting older. Amen. I'll tell you. Did you see me when I was over there in Lisbon? You have been a blessing. Oh, thanks, man. I have attached some eye picture. And I'm curious if you could give me some feedback on how I can best work my way to optimal vitality. Some specific questions. Alrighty. I have undescended right testicle. Oh, so your right testicle is not descended yet? And that was surgically pulled down. Okay, I got that one. And never really grown to its full size. You know, so many males have that problem. And when I look into and again, when you're looking at the human form, the physical body, of whether male or female, we are so weak genetically, cellularly. We're so acidic, lymphatically, sewage building up in the body. They say the human stinks so bad that bears can smell you 10 miles away. I mean, I don't know. And if you don't move your bowels for 45 days, I probably wouldn't go walking around where bears are. However, in the eye pics, it looks like the left testicle is the weaker one. And it's possible. it is possible if you've got a tumor there, it shows that that is a weakness there. Jensen told me he thought that everywhere there's a genetic weakness, the blood and lymph flow is, he felt, compromised. And what was fascinating about Doc was using the terminology lymph back then even, because I've been around 53 years in this, maybe a year before that even, and I read all raw books. I'm fruitarian thinking back then, and I don't know. The lymphatic system wasn't something you really talked much about, and it still isn't today in reality when that's the main problem. Weightlifting, where is that? Oh, you went weightlifting, huh? You guys want grossed out? Why not? All right. So if you have parathyroid weakness, what can you expect to experience as a weightlifter? Blown rectum. So you want to be careful. I mean, they don't tell anybody this. And then, of course, as you're protein pumping, you're calcium losing. So there goes connective tissue and all this sort of thing, and that's one of the side effects of that. And then, boop, with your muscles. I mean, if you've ever seen some old guys that are really showing you the truth, it's not a pretty picture. When weightlifting, it seems my system burns out faster than average. And that's your adrenals. And I think, and that's where your endurance comes in too. So I don't know where your blood pressure is, my man, but you're probably going to see your life running low and then going high as you get older. That's just going to be my guess. You don't have that neurological pump, that what I call the cardiac pump, which is your neurotransmitters. That's your epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamines. To what extent is all physical disease rooted in the mental? That's an interesting question. At one level, you could say all, because the mind is first. When you come out of the heavens, you're breaking away from the all. You take on the id. Hey, I'm me, you're you. Without the id, we're both one. But with that id, there's you and there's me, right? That's that old... I'm amazed I would be living with him would be rough. I don't know. I would say living with any psychologist would be kind of rough, But the id, all right? So then the id, that's that purple etheric plane. Some people have referred to it as the subconscious. I don't know what to say about that. From that point, you are now moving into cosmic consciousness, the universal mind. This is an area where the mind is created, and you pop off a little one for yourself. But the universal mind, the experience of the totality of that plane, is, I've told you before, earth-shatteringly nirvanic. We call it cosmic consciousness. You just are in an ecstasial type of, I don't even know how to explain it. And it's enough, but you still see, and I brought this up before for your spiritual geeks, is that you still have that individualization in the mental world, even at that high cosmic conscious universal mind level. There's still me and there's still you, but you are me and I'm you. How can that be? Right? You have to experience that one, right? And then you move outside of that. You're now moving into the all. And then suddenly you lose the id, and you're now one with all things. I mean, you can't even describe that one. So the mind now is the controller and the creator of everything below it. So in a sense, everything is controlled and created by the mind in a way. So just your conditioned mind to make you eat wrong, mind. Because you have the little good guy, and now you have the little bad guy. So you have these two guys, or girls, and they're talking to you. Either way, okay. Duality. So in the mental worlds, things can get really negative and really good. And every world down below it. You've seen some of the worst negative movies and stuff that come out. That ain't nothing. Because you can't feel what it does to you. But when you're traveling out of body and you're going to some of these places where there is this level of, I don't know what to call it. You can call it violence if you want, but it's totally different story because your consciousness then is affected, and it really affects you in a totally different way. So yes, from that standpoint, yes, the mind controls everything and creates everything. And the emotions then is how much do I like what the mind just put out there. All right, so the mind throws something on the screen there, and then the emotions go, well, let me see. Do I want that or do I not want that? All right, if I want that, now the mind and the emotions got to team up, and how can the physical body accomplish the procurement of this dream? So, but for you, check your parathyroid, thyroid glands, and we'll look right here. To what extent is physical disease rooted in the middle? If it is all a matter of energy and if it is all a matter of energy and frequency, can you essentially detox yourself by transforming yourself spiritually? Good question. That might go with Professor Hotima in Immaculate Conception concepts too. But each body has laws that you have to go by. You can think your physical body healthy, but you have to deal with physical chemistry. And that's the problem with spiritual people. You get in, you start expanding yourself, and you think you can, positive thinking will cure everything. Sorry, try it. I know a lot of friends that positive thinking. Well, now you just pulled yourself on the other side of the mind, and you open the other side of the mind and go, yeah, all right, here we go. See, the now doesn't have positive and negative to it. And that's the difference. Before, spirituality was always live on the positive side, always be positive. Really? You can't. You can't. Because you live in the worlds of duality, and everything moves with the rhythm of duality. Sorry. But in consciousness, you can always be conscious. Well, at least as much as you can remember to be. I'll think about that one. Seems the Creator is guiding us. You're just now realizing that? To which extent do we have free will? You're the Creator, you tell me. It is really just a matter of letting go of the steering wheel and enjoying the ride. Now you got it, man. Because you're not only the ride, the steering wheel, and the observer of the ride and the experiencer of the ride, you're the whole thing. That's the joke of it all. And your buddy is too. It's taking a ride with you. Yeah. Thank you for everything, Doc. Love you. Love you too, man. I miss Portugal. I had fun there. I just love Portuguese people. I just think they're the finest people. Whoa. Oh, guys. Whoa. Oh. Whoa. Look at the dark brown around the pupil. Holy crap, a dosey. Ooh la la. Holy man, oh my God, and look at these radius solaris up in the brain. My friend, we've got to do some work on the gut. Look at all these going up. Here's his dizziness. Right here, look at that. That's a very chronic going into the cerebellum mastoid up in this area, the left ear, right ear. Let me see if I'm looking right. All right, let me look this way. That way I don't get you wrong here. Yep, right up in here, left ear, cerebellum actually. Bronchial trunk, you got a couple of bad boys on the bronchial trunk, mid-lobe of the right lung. You've got a couple spots there. You need to clean that out. You looks like you've got some software involvement. That's what this looks like, my friend. You look like you have some chronic level lymph, but you look like you've got software involvement. Looks like some of that software's tried to make it to the lymph nodes a little bit. Now, this could be a heavy subacute. Look at the nerve rings. Look at the nerve ring, see right there? And that's the true color of his eye right there. It's through that nerve ring, right down on the trabecula. That is that light brown. That is his true color of his eye, right there. So, look at the difference between the true color. Now we're coming back over here. We're getting closer to the true color. So now we're getting into more of an acute, subacute level of weakness. But now we've got this chronicness, and I still say there's a lot of orange in here, which if it is, you probably have high fungal problems. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Holy Lord, you know parathyroid and thyroid. Looky here. Okay, he's got the light right over it. I'm going to go you down to 6 o'clock here. Look at 6 o'clock straight down. What's 6 o'clock straight down? That's his right leg. All right, so that's your right leg, knee. Yeah. Weightlifting, I'd probably put that off to the side for a while. Make sure I get my parathyroids and all that strengthened up. You got your skeletal system here, little hip where the femur goes into the hip. Absolutely got a joint problem there. Pancreatic, gallbladder. Want to work on that side. You got some genetics, son, you got to work on. Pancreatic and gallbladder, big time. Chronic, a lot of lymph stagnation. You want to be real careful because both of these are prone to tumors. You could clean up the liver as well, along with the gallbladder, no question about it. Yeah, I mean, there's some weaknesses in the right testicle, genetically. But that ain't nothing compared to that one or these. This is this whole pool right here. Hip, pancreas, and gallbladder, and then where am I? Liver, down in this area. Parathyroid for sure, thyroid for sure, pituitary for sure. And you got some radius solaris going up in the brain. No, we need to get rid of that. You got nerve rings, so that's your adrenals. I go to the adrenals, chronic adrenals, right kidney. So I'm going to put my finger on the kidneys, pointing straight up to the pupil to the adrenals. See, he's got some radius solaris there. They're a little lighter than the one beside it. Right there's his leg. But then right here is his kidneys. And then right there's his prostate. Ow! And bladder. Okay? Lower back goes with that. That's in there. So we don't want to go, too crazy here, but that's what you got to do. You've got a lot of lymphatic work ahead of yourself. Just being straight honest, man. That's why you come to me. That's one of the problems. Jensen used to beat me up for that, too. He said, you're too damn honest. I said, well, Doc, I was raised a old country farm boy. And if you don't want honesty, don't ask me then. Yeah, a lot of work to do. Are you getting orange out of your stool? Because I swear, I think you got sulfur involvement here as well. I mean, things just look a little orange here. Now, you got a lot of light. You got a light over here and a light over here. And brown eyes need lighter, so you got to consider that when I'm looking at this eye. There's a lot of light shining on this eye. And that can change things. That can make a brown look a little orange. Left eye looks a lot better. Don't it? Right, left, right, left. So, yeah. Okay, so we don't take up too much time here. Look at right here. Look across the top here. More radius solaris all over the friggin' place. Transverse colons prolapse down. See the distance right here? It's a little narrower than, let's say, over here. That's what this is prolapsed down. So your transverse bow is prolapsed down. Your flexors are prolapsed. At least your splenic Well, your hepatic's not too bad, but the rest of the transverse colon is a shithouse mess. No offense, but your GI tract needs to be refurbished, and that's why these bowel formulas we have and stuff. Okay, you got weaknesses all up and down the back, up in the C-spine, up in the upper T's, lower T's, mid T's, lumbars, femur a little bit here, groin more than the leg on this side, a better left leg, but a worse left hip. You got a lot of weaknesses in that left hip, so be real, real careful here. And this is more evidence of pancreatic weakness. You really want to work on these things, son. The liver gallbladder formula is a sweetheart for you, that's for sure. With that said, we have a little chronic adrenals. The kidneys are definitely all needing refurbished. You've got weaknesses. Look through, if you can, look through these fibers and look in this area. See how dark behind the fibers. Here, this is pretty bold, obvious, bold. Here, not so obvious, but look how dark it is underneath. And that's the kidney matrix right here. So there's where you're going. You know, and you want to work on those things. You know, your endocrinology is vital to work on. Your kidneys are vital to work on. Your lymphatic system is, that's your kidneys, adrenals, that's your skin. When you look at what we've made the lymphatic system, you will go, understand. Yep. All right. I think we covered it pretty good. All right. This is from Lena Morrison, female, Sweden. This is about a 5-year-old. Oh, God. 5-year-old with temporary vision loss and headaches. Holy shit. Oh, my God. Poor little thing. Dear Dr. Morse, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do. Well, thank you. And what's going on here? My 5-year-old daughter, all right, has been suffering from headaches and temporary eyesight loss. Okay, you, 5 years old, you got to get her on a fruit, berry, and melon only diet. I mean, that's essential. 5 years old and having this problem. All fruit, berries, and melons, honey. I'm serious. And there's no deficiency in nutrition or nothing. Try to get your organics and everything else. This industry is an organic industry. All right, so very, very important. Now, I'd get brain and nerve. I would get kidney. Number one, fine with me. Now, this other, our formulas are coming out. They'll be coming out in about a month. The kidney formulas have a lymphatic formula in them. All the kidney formulas have a lymphatic formula, and all the lymphatic formulas have a kidney formula in them. We don't want anybody out there taking one without the other, kind of. It started last summer, then when she was fine again but it started last summer, and then she was fine again, but since last week, it's back again. She's been on 80% fruit for the last 1.5 years, and in the past 6 months, it's probably been more like 60%. Sometimes she'll cry. Well, sometimes she'll say, I can't see out of my right eye now. Holy crap. Okay, so you want a kidney formula, right? So you also want a lymphatic formula. And I would do lymphatic 1, and I would just do, he's 5 years old, depends the weight there, but probably a quarter of a dropper full. We really need to get this thing going, right? So you got brain and nerve, or brain, the nerve formula. Then you've got a kidney formula. You have a lymphatic formula. Even that I think they've changed the name, but it was three formulas anyway. The 3 herbs. You got Fenugreek, pleurisy, and Million. That's a great one for that age of one to help loosen up this mucus. Now, expect a little cold and flu. You want to try to promote a little cold and flu there, sinus drainage if you can. Sometimes she'll say, I can't see. Okay. Sometimes it's the left eye, but most of the time it's her right. The other day, it was both eyes at the same time for the first time. All right. And another thing I would do is add parasite M in there. Okay. All in about a quarter of a dropper full. And you can put it in some fresh squeezed juice of some sort, grape, something like that if you want. Excuse me. Excuse me. God. She says all she sees then is white, nothing else. Well, listen, can't play around with this one, obviously. So you're on the right road. You just got to get on that road, both feet, and both of your daughter's feet on that road. Not partial. You want all fruit. There's a huge difference between a diet of, let's say, 100% fruits, berries, and melons, and one with 75%. If you've never been 100% raw, you got to do it. What's stopping you? 100% uncooked. Now you act like the rest of the animals in the world and everything else. Everybody eats their food as nature prepares it. You're not going to eat what doesn't taste good, and then that's obviously not going to be good for you. Right? So that... For a while last summer, her eyesight seemed to be really bad constantly for a week. Her headaches come and go, but didn't seem too painful. You can't have that. Now, I also submit that's also going to help her gut tissue. I don't know. I think the diet is good enough to help with the gut tissue, but if you can snap a picture of those little 5-year-old daughter's eyes and get it to us, we'll take a look at them and see what you're up against here. You know you're going to be 5 years old. You know you're up against the lymphatic system, hence the eye vision, hence the headaches. You're up against kidney weakness. You're up against adrenal weakness. A neurological, you don't know if she has nerve rings in her eyes and stuff like that. So you really want to get me a nice picture of her eyes and where you can see what you can work on at 5 years old. And by the time she's 12 or so, she'll be worked out of all this stuff. Vision-wise, she should be worked out in 6 months or more. Who knows? You know, but with the coming and going of this, not only very suggestive of lymphatic, but maybe also suggestive of parasitic. So I don't know. You know, it's enough to say we want to cover our bases with this little one. The eye doctor said her eyes are fine, but told me to go to the ER if the problem persisted. Yeah, the problem's not her eyes. The problem is her brain, neurological. So I took her to the ER, and they now want to put her under general anesthetics and do an MRI scan of her head. Yeah, here's where we get into it, see. And here's where the medical comes in. We need an MRI to the head. So what they're going to do now is compromise her neurons even that much more, where a picture of the eye will not compromise nothing. And we can see just what they can see. And they'll probably use contrast. So here's a little 5-year-old with contrast. You never want them to use contrast, right? I'm really reluctant to having this done, but at the same time, I'm really worried and want to know what the issue is. I would be, but we'll try the eye first, see if we can get her on a program first before you start walking her into Hellville. Because they're like a rabbit hole, brother. Once you get going, their need to know goes down, sends you to the rabbit hole. It's just unreal. Their need to know and their toxic things to help them know. It's just horrible. Therefore, I'm hoping you will be able to see from her iPhone. Oh, you have her iPhotos attached what the situation is, so we can... She hasn't had any vaccines, but I'd led a very destructive lifestyle for many years before falling pregnant with her. I now cleanse my body, all which I feel terrible about. Don't feel terrible, honey. The nature of the experience. Half the kids are drug babies, so, I mean, you know, I'm doing an iridology course at the moment, but I've not got very far yet, so, yeah. Left eye. Right eye. Okay. You got some nice genes. That little one of yours has got some nice genes. I hope she took after you, Mom. But she has nerve rings all over the place. So her autonomic nervous system, the myelin sheaths are already highly compromised. All right? So that's the adrenals. But what 5-year-old doesn't, knowing what all you guys know, and you guys are the premier knowers, don't you know, 5 years, yep, next, same thing, absolutely. So let's start with the right eye first. What we have is all this congestion. You see all this white? Now there is possibly a little sulfur, but all this white here is lymph stagnation and pretty heavy around the gut tissue. So I'm just going to go real quick over this person here. There's a subacute level of adrenal weakness, but at the same time, when you have nerve rings, it's more chronic. So don't know what to tell you with that. There are some genetics in the kidneys, about subacute, I would say. Parathyroid. I'm going to say minor. If anything, suppression. What we do see here is a little pituitary weakness, so that might suppress the parathyroids and stuff. You want to make sure that's not happening. We do have liver gallbladder a little bit in this young lad or lady. Bronchial trunk weaknesses for sure. She's got lung and bronchial trunk issues. Not real deep, about subacute maybe at the most, but still they're there. So don't be surprised. She's got a spot in the midbrain, more toward the right hemisphere, but there's a spot there you want to get circulation and brain and nerve, because she's got some spots up in the brain you don't want. All right, so let me show you this. Look at that spot, and there's some more up in this shaded area, more spots in the trabecula. So we've got a problem up in there. Sinuses. But, she's got malabsorption going on, things like that. But good, strong genes. I mean, I can go to the back and lower back, points to the kidneys and adrenals. Is this a female? You got vaginal, uterine. This a little female, or is this? Yeah. So think about that. As she's clearing up, that ought to strengthen that up pretty good. Stuff like that. But the groin, a little weakness on that side. Now, the left side. Now, that one is starkly different, ain't it? Look at that. Starkly different. Tons of lymphatic problems on the left side. Tons of it. Very thick, heavy lymphatic stagnation-wise. A chronic adrenal gland. She's got a couple spots in the kidneys that are like light chronic. The knee is weak. The femur is weak on that side, suggesting parathyroid. I can't see the parathyroid because the lymphatic system is so involved. But looky right there. See, we're right there at throat and going up into the thyroid area. Oh, I smashed my finger. Blood vessel. So left side, upper back, C-spine, T-spine, L-spine. Her whole back is weak, and that lower back. So be real careful, because she would be prone to... she could be prone to scoliosis. So you want to be real careful, because the left side is real weak and the right side is real strong. See, and that's what you're going to get there with that. So be real careful with that. With that said, thyroid, definitely. So I can't see into the parathyroid. If I look right up to the bowel wall, right here, I see a little bit of something. But there's some good genes in this young one, and you can really work on her. But you have to work on her endocrinology, her pituitary. So the endocrine gland form is perfect at 5 years old. So you definitely want to add that to your repertoire there. The endocrine gland, the brain and nerve, a kidney formula, either the 3-lung or whatever they call it now, or the or a lymphatic one, something like that. I don't know. Damn, I tell you what. Now, just said, you got a lot of light in her eye here. on this left side, so everything is accentuated like this. But, I mean, damn. It almost looks like she has a cholesterol ring around her eye, but I'm sure that's all just, because it's only 5 years old. So, but that side, the left side of her body is very, very acidic. So again, though, you want to rectify this, but be thinking about some of the weaknesses we pointed out here. Her endocrinology, almost all the endos are weak, but that's about par for the course for 5 years. Not heavily so. She's got great, strong genes. That's going to pull her up out of these things, but you want to get up in here. Circulation, brain, and nerve. And I would say on those two, for that area, for probably 4 to 6 months. And at the same time, you want to break this loose. When you see this stuff coming out, you want this white out of here. You want all this white out of here. And she probably has a buildup of fungus in her. That's why the parasite M on the side. And any worms or anything like that. All right. We made it. Love you guys. Yeah, I tell you, busy is crazy. But it's exciting. Our whole handcrafted consciousness is so much fun. The formulas are being processed now, and so we should have them in about a month and a half. And so a whole new focus on our side of it. And like I said, this world can't use enough good herbal formulas. And so I feel all the formulas I've ever touched or made, I love them all. The formula itself, how you process a formula is essential to the quality of its expression, and all of that is vital to the process. So it's just getting into that handcrafted consciousness and that sort of thing. But love you guys, and hope to be talking to you real soon, and hope you come into the clinic and say hi. We're having fun with all of you coming in and meeting all the people from around the world. It's so much fun. And it's good to see you get well. There's a tumor behind the knee. Get it out. Get your kidneys and things. Because you're fixing the weaknesses of the human body, and you're putting your human body on the right track to Wellville. And that's what you're seeking. You're seeking to be healthy physically, but you want to be healthy spiritually too, right? You don't want to be You want to be the knower of things. You want to know why. Why this? Why that? Right? Who am I? And why? Really. So have fun on this journey. That's all I got to say. No matter what you see coming to this planet, you have fun on this journey. You be the powerhouse. You be the one that all life comes through, because you are the one. You are the divine individualized. So each of you, give yourself a hug, throw the ego away, or at least put it in the corner with the dunce hat, and be humble, because you come from the same source everybody else does. And everything is on a different level in creation. Why would everything be on the same level? That's stupid. Everything is at a different level. Different level of awareness. You see that in humans. Some have a lot of awareness, and some humans don't have very much at all. Just the nature of it. And you'll find that in aliens, in different species, and you'll find that everywhere you go in creation. Namaste. May the blessings be, and have a great day, guys.